It's springtime, and that means Dairy Queen time. Look for the original Dairy Queen store, open now in your neighborhood.
Dairy Queen, the cone with the curl on top. Dairy Queen, for brother, sister, mom, and pop. Sundays, cones, malts, and shakes. Dairy Queen serves the best. Dairy Queen, there's only one. Better than all the rest. Dairy Queen.
Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us want delicious treats from Dairy Queen. I am Sam Allman.
I am Elias, Sailor Oreo, Blizzard, Eli. I did it right this time.
Hell yeah.
And I am just...
I didn't do it right that time.
and I am just champing at the bit for this podcast to be over so that I can go and purchase an ice cream sandwich from my local Dairy Queen. I'm also Maddie Grace Webber.
Can I just quit the podcast right now? I've done that since, I was so ready to say it right.
You did say it right.
No, I said I'm Sailor Oreo Blizzard Eli.
Oh, damn it. I didn't even notice that you didn't say it right. You'll say it right next time.
That's
Eli,
fine.
Oh, shit.
Eli, it took me like 2 months to correctly start a stream in which, like, the microphone was plugged in, the game video and audio were working properly. I was fully dressed up, including makeup and jewelry. And my room fan was turned down to low. And my ring light was plugged in and turned on. It took me like literally 2 months to actually like not forget one of those things. And start on time.
Yeah,
it's hard to do things correctly.
And it took us until it's never happened to start one of our streams for RPG Book Club on time. True. And without technical craziness. So we all suck. So that's why we're here together. No other podcast wants us. We're all the worst of the worst.
And that's why only Dairy Queen will sponsor us.
Yes.
But I mean, that means Dairy Queen believes in us, not that they think we suck. It's because they know that they know in their hearts that we can do better.
Yes.
Dairy Queen is... Okay, so this isn't a correct characterization of Dairy Queen exactly, but you know how Jack in the Box is like
wow.
Like
there goes our sponsorship. You can't talk about Jack in the Box when we're trying to talk about Dairy
I'm going to compare Dairy Queen positively to Jack in the Box.
Okay.
Obviously. But you know how Jack in the Box's primary, let's say, customer base is just like fucking losers and they know it? And I include myself in that group. Like Jack in the Box is like, we know.
They have a menu that a late night menu that includes a burger where instead of buns, it's grilled cheese sandwiches.
Right, that's what
they know
I'm saying.
For a fact that
like,
only stoners.
We know that only people who are just complete disasters of human beings eat at our restaurant, and we're going to lean into it. Dairy Queen they're not that. Like, I do think that Dairy Queen's primary clientele is losers, but Dairy Queen is too pure to acknowledge that. So they go to all the losers and they say, "No, you deserve better. You're a winner, actually."
Yes.
But it's the same people who go to Jack in the Box. It's just like, "No, you deserve better than this. Here, have a steak finger basket."
Steak finger basket.
Christ, I want to say that's not even me doing a bit. I legitimately really, really want a Dairy Queen steak finger basket.
Me too. But my Dairy Queen is a not Texas one up here, so I can't eat food at it.
Rip.
Which stinks. But anyways, today we will be talking about Part 7 of Chrono Cross, leading up to the save point in Terra Tower, but not any of the bosses thereafter. there's not a save point before the final boss. They expect you to backtrack because it's only like one screen backwards. So we cut it early. There's nothing important that happens.
Yeah, I accidentally gave a very difficult instruction last week, but that's because I wasn't exactly sure like where the save point was, right? But yeah, it turns out that the last 2 bosses before the final one, it's just 2 bosses with literally 0 plot. So it's like, you can do it next week if you fucking want to. It's just 2 extra easy bosses. Who cares?
Yeah. But before we get to any of that, how was everyone's week?
I haven't had a whole lot going on. Although I will say,
good.
Yeah, I had my blood removal appointment.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Did you just walk in the room and they just stab you and watch? It's like, looks like 2 liters. We're good.
You're like, can you please bandage this? And they're like, not yet.
No.
Not yet.
Wait. No. They just fucking slap it on you and then send you home. No regard for how much blood you lost and how dizzy you might be. I was kind of hoping I'd go in there and there'd just be a hot vampire waiting for me. Instead,
hello, Eli.
Yeah, right? Instead, they just stab me in the finger, which really hurts like hell for whatever stupid reason. Then they ask me questions pertaining to my legal gender, which has not been updated because I don't fucking know how to update it, and I'm afraid of legal systems, so I'm just not going to bother.
I get it.
And then I went and had a pint of blood taken out of me that they just fucking threw away because even though my legal gender is female, they would be asking me the male questions. I did find out though, the new rule, they actually have updated the policy since I last gave blood, and it's now only 3 months celibacy if you are a man in a relationship with another man, instead of a year. So it's getting better.
Yeah, the last time I gave blood and not plasma was in high school. And for that one, they asked if I had had sex with another man since 1987.
Yeah, 1977.
Right.
Yeah.
So now they're only criminalizing success, basically.
Yeah.
If you're a incel, basically, if you're a gay incel, then it's fine.
Yeah.
But if you sleep around, or heaven forbid, if you're in a happy and stable monogamous relationship and therefore get it on the reg, fuck off.
I
Only
think the most infuriating,
like Dairy Queen and Dragon Bucks.
The most infuriating part of it for me is that I am a man in a relationship with another man, but I was with this same man before I was a man. I've been with him.
Does that make it not gay? Yeah.
I've been with him since 2009.
Yeah, which is wild.
So suddenly it's not okay for me to give blood, even though I'm the same damn person. And it's just so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And I'm far too honest to lie about that sort of thing. So, not to go like sharing too many details about my personal life. But anyway,
You're married. That means one of two things. You either get it on the reg or you will never have sex again. And that's one of the two.
Yep.
And I mean, you're in a gay relationship and not a straight one, so it's probably getting it on the reg.
Well, I don't know how it is for trans men, but I know that for trans women, it's like, okay, hetero, never fuck again. Gay, lesbian, fuck constantly. Trans lesbian loops back around to never fucking. We just pet each other's hair, and that's sex.
That's all you need.
Talk about how pretty you are.
But yeah, that's pretty much it.
So I had the stabbing appointment, and my RP life has actually improved because of all things, I've at least partially gone back to WoW.
Weird.
Well,
Wow.
my primary RP partner in Final Fantasy, the lovely Sail, has convinced me to play WoW with her because she wanted to go back and work on her guild there. She had taken a long hiatus from it, and she was finally ready to try and get back into it. And I had a free month of game time that I had never claimed from one of the anniversary promotions or something. So I was like, hey, you know, if you're really super interested in going back, I can give you a month of game time. You know, and I was a little worried. I was like, oh, she's not going to want to play Final Fantasy with me anymore. No, that's not the case. She still wants to. Like, we're playing Final Fantasy now as I speak.
Nice.
Yes, we're in Praetorium right now.
Yeah.
So, once again, it was my anxiety being stupid. And
Ain't that the worst?
Yeah.
Like, no matter how many times it turns out it was true that it was your anxiety being stupid,
it won't stop.
It's not like in an RPG where like you faced it on a boss at the beginning of the game, and then when it shows up as a random mob, you kick its ass. No, it's a boss.
It's a boss every
dungeon,
time.
every time.
Yeah. So, she runs this nightclub guild on Wormrest Accord called the Howling Owl, and she invited me to join them. And so my demon hunter is now a security guard for this nightclub. And we had a couple of really big events because it was their second anniversary, and it was super fun. And I made new friends, which I haven't done in a while. And God, WoW is still so fucking full of drama.
Yeah.
Because like in the last few days, there have been a bunch of Tumblr posts about a bunch of terrible people on Wormrest Accord. So, wow. Which I won't go into because as a Blizzard employee, I need to, you know, something, not give my opinion, etc.
Yeah.
etc.
Speaking of things you can't comment on as a Blizzard employee, I'm kind of real excited for Blizzard 2 Electric Boogaloo that is coming out this week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have heard of that. I really don't know anything about it. I haven't researched it at all. So
yeah, it's basically just all of the people who politely left the company since I had been going there have come back and been like, actually, and this is just my read of the situation. And as a Blizzard employee, you don't have to say anything.
Okay, cool.
We're saying, like, we don't like that the way Activision was running our livelihood into the ground, so we're just gonna do it again from the ground up. And seems really cool. Seems like they're all really excited about doing what they want to do, which is always nice to see for people, which is really cool. But I did just think of that as a news that was moderately exciting. But it'll probably all be multiplayer games that I won't play anyways, so who cares? This last week we were just chilling, and I don't remember what happened to me, but I was like, you know what? I really miss playing video games with Summer, because we used to play the crap out of the Tales games together because they're all multiplayer. And so I would do all of the boring like menu stuff and the walking around stuff, and then the fights would come up and she would do the fights with me. And it was super awesome. And so I was just thinking of something. I was like, you know what? I just want, because like we had been playing The Witcher 3 together where she just backseat games and watches the cutscenes and stuff like that. And I was like, since now I know that Summer enjoys doing that, because that's what growing up as the youngest child gets you to do, is you get to watch other people play video games. But and so so she now that I knew that she liked doing that, I'm like, we should do another RPG together, blah 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 blah. So I mentioned it out loud, and she was like, you know, I do love Disney, so we could do Kingdom Hearts together. She called it Animal Kingdom, but I knew what she meant. And you know, she was like, oh, we could play Kingdom Hearts together. I was like, okay, but if we do that, you have to take the controller. So she was like, okay, fine. I was like, I played the first one when I was 11 years old, so I know you can do it. So let's do that together. So I tore apart the house looking for my PS3 copies of the collection, and I could not find them anywhere. So I bitched and complained to my good friend Matthew Jorgensen, our youngest and only son, and not oldest and only, it's youngest.
No, youngest and only.
Yeah, he was like, "Yo, I have the story so far on physical. I'll just bring it to you tomorrow." So, because as I mentioned, now that I live up here in Wisconsin, we live about an hour from each other. So
that's fucking awesome.
So he just drove over and dropped it. So me and Summer then beat Kingdom Hearts in 2 days and beat Chain of Memories in like 3 to 4 days. And now we're making our way through Kingdom Hearts 2. It's been really, really cool because she's completely and totally blind on it. And I get to like explain like what we were thinking going into the games, and like, oh, this is all we knew at this point. This is all we knew at this point. This is what the trailer was. Those sorts of things, like fill her in, like as if she's experiencing it over the 20 years that we have or whatever. And I told the first lie to my wife ever. And it was, we were heading into the fight with Marluxia in Chain of Memories. And I was like, yeah, after we finish this fight, then we'll be done and we can start playing Kingdom Hearts 2. Because being a Game Boy Advance game, we had no idea that there were 2 whole goddamn campaigns in it. And so when I was in the final boss, I thought, awesome, I'll be ready for Kingdom Hearts 2. And then it's like, oh, hey, now that you've beaten it, pick Riku mode from the main menu. And Summer was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, we're only half done. There's a whole nother goddamn game we got to play. And it was just great. So Chain of Memories is awesome and I love it. But it's a kind of hard sell when someone's first ever action RPG was Kingdom Hearts 1. And then you're like, okay, do that, but with cards for your second ever one. It's kind of a big sell. So she tried a good college try for about 3 battles and was like, no, Sam, you play this one. I'm not doing it. So I got to play through Chain of Memories, the PS2 remake for the first time. And it's really good. I did not think it would be as good because the Game Boy Advance one is so good and its sprite work is so good. And
yeah, the GBA one's so tight.
Yeah, but it just fucking works in 3D in a way I never thought it would, and
nice.
it was a whole lot of fun. High recommend if you're like me and you're like, well, I played it a long time ago and it's a quote unquote side game in a series that everything is a direct sequel, so there are no side games. But so if you haven't ever gone back to play it, try the remake that's on all modern systems. It's really good.
Does the remake let you skip to the Riku section?
It doesn't, which it should, because
literally nothing. Literally, you can summarize the Sora section in one paragraph, probably. The only reason what you just said about it actually being important canon is true is because of the Riku section.
Yeah, it's like the Sora section could be an email. Sora lost his memories because of spoilers. Sora lost his memories because
then he redid everything and got it back, and it pretty much just foreshadows what's going to be explained in the next game.
I'll never forget the article that someone, it might have been you, Sam, sent me that was called something like, "The Kingdom Hearts storyline isn't as complicated as you think." And I read through one paragraph and my brain exploded.
Yeah. My favorite thing about it is it's surprisingly a game without twists. It's just a game with developments. And so when a game when a story doesn't really have twists, it's easy to follow because it's just the next thing that happens.
Right.
There are a couple twists that happen, like namely in Kingdom Hearts 3, there's a holy shit, how could you do this sort of twist, which is awesome, and I loved it. It floored me. But for the most part, it's like, oh no, this is just the next thing that happened. So yeah, it's weird in anime, but when you play it in order, it's not like you never have to pause and explain, okay, well, this guy is doing this because of that. It's because you find it out piecemeal.
Right.
And
it's just that a lot of things end up happening because it's a long series.
Yeah.
There's like a million side games, and they're constantly like rewriting the lore, and
they're actually not to be Kingdom Hearts cast here at the very beginning, but they do a surprisingly little amount of rewriting, which is like the game that's been rewritten the most is Kingdom Hearts 1. But basically since then, and even in Kingdom Hearts 1, they obviously had a plan for where they were going because of the secret endings have stuff from later games. But it's like they do a surprisingly little amount of rewriting and retconning, and it's kind of just like, it obviously didn't because it meanders, but it's almost like it came to Tetsuya Nomura in a dream. And he's like, here is this 9-game saga, and I will let it go on you. And it's surprisingly tight, but it's 9 games long, and I don't recommend it for anybody unless they're like Summer and just want to go. But other than that, 2 quick things that happened to me this week is I saw Fall for the first time. Did you guys know that Fall wasn't something they made up for the movies?
Wow, crazy.
Yeah, like the trees changing colors actually happens.
Now we have
it's
it here
weird.
Too. It's wild.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. It's really weird, and it like gets cooler outside, and
yeah, but not like cold. It doesn't go straight to winter. Like Texas has summer until December 1st. Yeah. And so it's like this whole week the temperatures are in the 60s, which is not just like a transition day to when it's balls cold before it goes back to the 90s. It's just like that's the temperature for the next couple of months. It's fucking weird. But other than that, Storm, darling child, love him so much, snapped both mine and Summer's glasses in half since our last recording. So mine
I know his own strength.
The way mine are broken, I was able to power drill a different hole for the screw on the wrong side of the thingy. But with the way Summers are broken, we could maybe fix if we had super glue, but we don't. So she holds them up to her face to read things and then sets them back down because she's not as blind as me. But yeah, little boy just snaps industrial strength plastic.
Lol.
Love him. But yeah, let's dive right in. No one has to know that we had technical difficulties.
I gotta say my week.
Let's just.
Maddie hasn't talked about.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
I'll only take like 5 seconds because I wasted no time with my technical problems. But
yeah, I asked you about your week when you were gone, and that's why I thought you had already done it.
Gotcha. I'm not going to take long, but I am going to say I played the entirety of The Last of Us Part 2, and yeah, don't believe the haters. It's an absolute goddamn masterpiece. All of the like quote unquote good critics who write thoughtful and nuanced criticisms of things and usually don't just love the same thing that everyone else loves just because it's big budget and said that this game was bad actually, were fucking wrong. It's an incredible video game. I remember Polygon's article was something like, it doesn't have anything to say except just like violence is bad. And to that I say, I cannot even believe you were playing the same game as me. If you think that this game doesn't have any like themes, if anything, I would say it's very heavy-handed in its themes, and it's about a lot of things, and not all those things are even related to violence. Nice. Also, it's got a trans character, and I mean, it's a trans guy, and I'm a trans girl, but other than that small caveat, I think he's incredibly handled. I don't think he's problematic at all. I found his story very moving. So yeah, I'm not going to go into it more because this isn't Last of Us cast, and also frankly I'm still sorting out my feelings. But I do know that I played 25 hours of it in 4 days. So do the math on that one. Really more like 3 days because the 4th day I only played like an hour or two because I was almost done with the game. So
you're saying on the 4th day you rested?
Yeah, basically. But it's one of the best like mainstream AAA action games. You know, like there's nothing weird or avant-garde about it. It's very like normal, quote unquote. But in that realm of that kind of game, it might be the best thing I've ever fucking played. So
Nice.
that's my week. I think something else happened, but whatever, I don't care. Let's talk about this goddamn video game.
Yeah, so let's listen to
Goddamn indeed.
the
Sorry, go on.
Chronopolis music, and then we'll talk
that's a
about
good
the
one.
boatloads of plot we get talked at this week. So when last we left our heroes, we switched discs.
We sure did.
And we were left in the Sea of Eden with a big triangle-shaped waterfall poking up out of the ground. So now we explore that sea and we visit the 3 islands around it. There are 3 islands that you can visit: the present, Clotho; the future, Lachesis; and the past, Atropos. No relation to Robo's girlfriend. You might not remember.
Those are the fates in
Yes.
Greek myth.
Yes.
Yeah. I just have to say that this one is not a reference to Robo's girlfriend, because later there is a reference to Robo and it calls him by his Greek name. So inconsistency. Anyways, so when you visit each island, there's a save point, but it's the wrong color. If you go to investigate it, it flies away. But when you get to the 3rd one, you have a boss battle, and the boss battle is different depending on the order that you did the islands in. But it's real easy. It's just a big old face. And so you take them down, and the world begins to shake. And then the triangle waterfall smooshes back down to the sea, and it reveals a city on an island. When you come up to the city, you see it's called the Time Fortress Chronopolis. And this place is real cool. It's a real dungeon with mobs and treasure chests, but it also is kind of an NPC dungeon at the same time. It's like the hallways are all a regular ass dungeon with regular ass puzzles and regular ass dungeon stuff. And then like your navigation through the space is more like an NPC dungeon type thing.
Yeah.
And
also, I will say, I feel like the farther this game goes on, the easier and easier it becomes to dodge from enemies, or I'm just getting better at it. Because at this point, I'd be like, I would get into a fight with a bad guy in like the second to last room of a dungeon, and then once I start the fight, realize, oh, I haven't had to fight this guy yet. Because I've avoided every single one.
Yeah, and I think they do it on purpose, because in Terra Tower, which we'll get to in a second, like the mobs there could not hurt me, and they were brand new mobs. Like they were called like Terra Terror. They were made for Terra Tower, but they did 0 damage to me. And this game doesn't have levels, so it's not like I was over leveled. They just were like, yeah, who fucking cares about the mobs?
Yeah,
skip them and get to the bosses.
Like, I think the game's just like, yeah, we'll take on the vaguest form of an RPG at this point, but like, come on.
This is boss battle cutscene game is all it is, which is cool.
Unlike Xenogears, which Disc 2 was just
cutscene.
Slideshow cutscene. Yeah.
Yeah, this is basically that, except it still retains the form of a regular video game.
Yes.
Yeah. So everywhere throughout Chronopolis are a whole bunch of NPCs. And boy howdy, they say a lot of words.
I want to clarify, they're sort of like ghosts. It's like you're seeing something that happened in the past, basically.
Yeah, they are NPC blue see-through ghosties. They look a lot like the yellow see-through ghosties in the last time we were here in the other dimension, which I only just realized, which is kind of cool.
I hadn't thought about it until just now either.
Yeah. So they say a whole lot, so I'm not going to break it down chronologically that much. Ironically, in a place called Chronopolis, I'm kind of just going to speak vaguely about the shit that we learn in each of the labs, because that's kind of a easy little
Summarize it. That's
chapter
how to do it for sure.
So in first thing first, in the front area, we see that this is the Chronopolis Military Research Center, and may there be everlasting peace for the children of the war, circa 2400 AD, which tells us three things. The military still lies and say they're about peace in the future. Also, this is from 100 years after the end, the latest place we go to in Chrono Trigger, which is cool. There's also a whole lot of cool technobabble about reversing the polarity of the neutron flow to make time travel work, but it ultimately just boils down to the fact that they're using the frozen flame to do time travel experiments. There's a boss battle with a cop. He attacks you out of nowhere, but the court rules that he's only guilty of hurting the bridge that you were fighting on.
No, he says that the party was game overed in a boss involved incident.
Yes. He was kind of hard, but not like important. So skipping over him kind of. As we climb the tower, we see more and more science labs, and we learn some cool stuff. So the Sea of El Nido is nothing but ocean, always has been. So Fate, all caps, created a paradise, and the people who worked at Chronopolis had their memories wiped and were sent out to inhabit it, kind of as a like fucked up science experiment. But and that's why El Nido wasn't in Chrono Trigger, because the islands were created by people in the future that you make at the end of the game, and then, as we'll find in a second, that paradise was then thrust back in time by science experiments.
It quote unquote didn't quote unquote exist quote unquote yet. if yes. The concept of tints makes any sense at this point.
Yes. So Fate has been watching over and guiding these descendants using the records of Fate. That's right. Same plot twist as Xenogears. Move along. There's a lot more where that came from. It's more developed here than it was in Xenogears, but
it's like
it's
way
still
more
like
important. In Xenogears, it's like a throwaway thing. Here, it's like, no, this is like a thing that was a big thing that happened. This is like a major linchpin of the plot. Whereas Xenogears, it's like they were watching us through the save points, I guess.
Yeah. Here, it's important that they do it, but like to the plot. But the fact that they do it is almost not important. It's like this is the mechanism by which the rest of the plot happens. But 14 years ago, Surge came in contact with the frozen flame on the night of the storm that we've seen in a couple cutscenes, and ever since then, Fate has been blind. It hasn't been able to tell people anything through the records of Fate. And that's why people were, if you remember back in Arnie, people were kind of like there was a long queue for the record of Fate because people had like a lot of questions and they couldn't get any answers, and they were kind of like, what the fuck? And it's because Fate couldn't talk to them through it. But that's pretty much it for the first lab. The second lab is focused on brain rewriting and emotional control that they use because science. And they say that so they also say in there that excuse me, they say in there that my notes say the wrong word, and I couldn't think of the right word because I wrote the wrong one in my nerds in my notes. Nerd.
Words are hard.
Ugh, words are so hard. So they also say that evolution is really, really slow, and the development of the human brain to its current state from the apes that they were in 65 million BC was super fast, and it must have been because of biological contamination. Unfortunately for Masato Kato, this is ridiculous. The earliest human settlements in the real world are only 2.5 million years old, and the apes of 65 million BC had houses, and our 2.5 million years ago IRL brothers only had crude tools, not even shelters. So it kind of all falls apart, but what the fuck ever. Science fiction. I like Stargate. It's a lot worse than this.
Wait, but what if in real life the apes got able to do houses and stuff also because of the influence of a literal parasitic space creature?
Sure.
We don't know. Can you prove it didn't happen?
No. So you got a point. Anywho, so the point is, because of Lavos, humans were contaminated and therefore are as an outside force as far as the planet is concerned. The planet had plans for apes. It did not get apes, it got humans, and it's kind of fucked up the balance ever since. And humans having an inherent nature of duality, of having love and hate, and their tendency to break everything is seen as a blight on the world. And the science for this part is absolutely valid. The smoke from the fires that we caused made it all the way into the hurricanes in the Gulf that we caused to make a smoke-a-cane last week. I don't know if you saw the...
Wait, which fires? Y'all have fires?
The California fires, the smoke from those fires drifted far enough from California to the Gulf of Mexico to be caught up in the hurricane that's also there because our oceans are hot because of our greenhouse gases.
Yeah, I thought maybe you were talking about
Pro Lavos podcast. Well, not Lavos, Pro Planet podcast here.
Here's the thing. When I was streaming this game the last 2 weeks, it started getting really heavy. I was playing this part of the game while the sky was orange outside. And we couldn't go outside, and we couldn't even go outside at all because one of the masks you can wear protects you from coronavirus, but not from fire smoke, and the other kind of mask protects you from fire smoke, but not from coronavirus. So playing this part of the game and just being like, yeah, humans suck, they ruin everything, we're just hopeless as a species. I was like,
fuck. Blight on the world. The reptites should have won. So
what is Sam talking about, you say? We'll get there.
So the next laboratory spoils Homestuck by saying that adenine and thymine and guanine and cytosine are just the poems and music of the world. But
I will say that's the game's first reference to music as an important thematic thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, because we did the whole rock opera, and that was also the theme of music that we'll get to next week. But
mentioning music in a spiritual lore sense happens here and will continue happening. Okay, anyway.
Yes. But the main point of this lab is to bring up the important plot points from Chrono Trigger, just in case you somehow got to this point and never had played Chrono Trigger. It has to spoil it to make the plot make sense. I mean, sense is a loose word, but so its main point here is that the reptites were highly advanced in 65 million BC that we actually picked up on organically when we were like, they had like kick-ass robots and shit in 65 million BC.
Yeah,
they should have won.
Living in huts.
Yeah. And that because of all of the divergent timelines that have been created, which also, so we talked about how this game is not just a sequel to the plot in 1000 AD of Chrono Trigger. It's also a sequel to all of the alternate endings, including the one where the reptites win, because you go back and you fight Lavos before he can come down and cause the Ice Age. That's one of the alternate endings. And they talk about that here, which is kind of really cool. And so they talk about that divergent timeline where Lavos did not fall and the reptites won the contest of evolution. Then we get to the next lab, and the people out front say only the Arbiter can enter, and they let Surge pass right through. Interesting. I wonder if they'll expound on that in 2 doors. But there's a time travel presentation.
Master Chief behind.
Yes. Yeah, Master Chief is stuck in cryostasis, so the Arbiter has to has to do some things. Anywho, there's a time travel presentation, and we learned that Luca reinvented time travel in 1100 AD, but there was never any proof that she was right. She didn't like make a time machine, but she just wrote extensive notes. And one person at the thing is like, yeah, but like, didn't the people in Zeal already have a time egg and could time travel way back then? And the other dude's like, there's no proof that Zeal even existed, which I think is cool. Spoilers for Radical Dreamers. In that timeline, El Nido's continent was not a future science experiment. It was the crashed site of the Kingdom of Zeal. Kingdom of Zeal was 10,000 years ago. As we learn, everything was sent back 10,000 years. So it's kind of like harmonious there, where it's like, we have no idea they even existed because we just plopped our asses on top of their corpse 10,000 years ago, which is kind of cool.
I just realized you could make a weird, this would be a little bit retconny and wouldn't quite work, but there could even be a weird thing where Zeal was that. But they don't actually say that or elaborate on that, but I just thought of that. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. Yeah, especially because their memories were all wiped. As we heard earlier.
That's a fucking stable time loop for you. Anyway, whatever.
Anywho, so Chronopolis was built in El Nido, the sea, because they could sense a time gate in the Sea of Eden, and they tried really, really hard to open it, and they made artificial islands around them to host them in the process. But immediately after that, they contradict that, so I don't understand at all. But the next NPC says that Chronopolis popped into existence in 2300 AD, which was headed up by Balthazar, and he just up and vanished at the peak of his career, which both of those things can't be true. They can't have founded Chronopolis on the ruins of the Time Gate, and also it just popped into existence in 2300 AD, but whatever. But what I think is really cool is that Balthazar was still flung into the future from Zeal, but since we saved the future, he now shows up in 2300 AD, and he doesn't die sad and alone making the epic. He instead founds this time travel institute because life is good up there, which is kind of cool. But on to the next lab. In this next one, we see that they purposely split the timeline in twain between Anotherworld and Homeworld so that they could see the differences. It's implied that it's Anotherworld and Homeworld, but also on the screens when I was rewatching the Let's Play today to write my notes, in the screens, one of them shows Viper Manor, the other one shows nothing. It is a field instead of Viper Manor. So maybe it's not Homeworld and Anotherworld, but it's like Anotherworld. Anotherworld is the one that's important. So it's Anotherworld and like yet a third or fourth or 10th or whatever alternate dimension where they didn't have people or something.
Yeah, but I mean, the key point is this was a giant experiment. Are you going to talk about the part about how they couldn't change things too much? Are you going to address that?
Yeah, I'm doing it. That's in the next sentence. Yeah, so Fate, which turns out is the supercomputer, is in Chronopolis, has been guiding both dimensions to ensure its creation in the future so that it doesn't create a huge paradox. That's why we almost see nothing from the main continent besides Poor, because up until 10 years ago, Fate, basically every time someone came to El Nido, they wiped their brain with the record of Fate and made them never want to leave. And everybody that wanted to leave, they're like, you know what? No, I'm not going to do it. That's why in Homeworld, the girl is about to leave and go and be a poet on the mainland, and the fisherman is going to go sailing the seas to be a fisherman.
Oh, fuck.
Because
good catch, Sam.
Because in this timeline where Surge is alive, Fate has less of a hold there, which is
so like in Home.
Cool
so basically,
shit.
in Homeworld, Fate is like not able to control shit, and it's like spinning out of control. That's cool, and that would endanger Fate, because if they change the past too much, Fate literally might not end up existing. So they have to clamp down on that. Wild, huh?
Yeah, and that's why Lynx is from Anotherworld and not from Homeworld. There is no Lynx there, which is really cool. Yeah. But anywho, so 10 years ago, when the time crash happened, Fate has been unable to intervene, which is why Link's went to Poor and brought the army back with him, because Fate hasn't been there, which is cool. We get to another door that way more explicitly says that Surge is the Arbiter, and it does so by checking his DNA, which is why Link's needed Surge's body. So we go inside that door, and we find the Frozen Flame and Dark Surge, who tells us what his whole deal is, and it still kind of doesn't make sense to me. It makes a little bit of sense. I wrote this note that it didn't make sense, then I wrote my notes, and it makes more sense, but it's still kind of arbitrary. So,
or is it arbitrary?
Yes, it's arbitrary. So Lynx is the human incarnation of Fate, the computer that's been guiding everything. The computer that locked the door so that only Surge could get through. So Fate needed Surge's body to get by its own defenses. It'll make a little bit more sense in a second.
Yeah, it's literally, oh fuck, I got locked out of my own house. So I'm just, instead of controlling everything like a god, I'm just gonna be Lynx and try to fucking be, basically, like, I accidentally gave this tiny child the keys to the house.
Yes. Yeah, he accidentally gave SpongeBob the keys to the Krusty Krab. and Surge is just in there listening to the pickle squeak. But, so 14 years ago, Wazuki, Surge's dad, and Miguel, our Gilligan lookalike that we killed in the Dead Sea, they were taking Surge, who had been attacked by a panther demon, to Marbule for some advanced healing. They got lost in the storm and landed on Chronopolis instead of in Marbule, because 14 years ago it wasn't blocked off. People were just steered away from it by the Records of Fate. It wasn't a like the ring around it or whatever that it is now. You could theoretically land there. People just never did because Fate was in control. But the storm had tripped Chronopolis's backup generators, so Fate was offline for 10 minutes, which was enough time for Surge to wander off, find the be beckoned by the Frozen Flame. And while the system was rebooting after it had been shut off in the storm, it activated a hidden circuit from the central processing that was left in by Luca and Balthazar. Well, by Balthazar, named after Luca, because there's no way Luca was alive in 2400 AD. But that circuit left Surge in control of Chronopolis, and it locked Fate out of its own systems. Which, if Fate is the system, that, like, it's hard to get locked out from yourself. So it makes sense to get locked out of your own house, but how do you get locked out of yourself? Which is weird, but whatever.
I think it makes sense. I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of sci-fi has dealt with that kind of concept.
Yeah, I probably just am. I don't have my Star Trek cap on to just let. Yeah, apparently Klingons are also human because reasons. Sort of allowances on right now, but whatever. So Lynx then calls out for the system to bring out that original circuit so he can murder in front of us, and it is Prometheus, aka Robo, aka the only surviving Chrono Trigger character at this point. But they also missed a huge opportunity to, like, show a Chrono Trigger character on screen, because it's just a disembodied voice that you have to put together as Robo. They could have, like, wheeled out Robo tied up to like a computer or whatever that just has Robo's face on it or something, but oh well. He's just disembodied text. But Fate then kills Robo in front of us and destroys Surge's original body and turns into a, what if the Reaper from the ending of Mass Effect 2 was based on an Asari instead of a human?
It's exactly what it is.
It's exactly what it is. But it's probably the most gorgeous thing on the PlayStation by a landslide. It looks really fucking good.
It is an incredible bit of 3D polygon, lo-fi polygon design, and probably the best boss battle track in the game.
Yeah,
it's stupid good.
It gets unique music. It's a boss fight. The boss fight is kind of really cool. It has this whole, like, ominous countdown thing, but it only does black damage, and I had the black plate on, so I literally couldn't die.
Nice.
So it was easy for me.
How'd this battle go for you, Eli?
I Honestly, I don't think I had any serious problems.
Nice.
The only boss fight that I had a problem with was the last green guy before the
Green
save
buddy?
point.
Mhm.
Fuck that
Yeah,
guy.
he's tough. Yeah, this Fate fight, I thought it was really terrifying. I didn't have black plate. I did beat it on my first try, but boy oh boy, it was literally, you know, one of those things where like you look at how much health you have, you look at the fact that you have no more healing items, you look at your situation, and you're like, I'm literally gonna die next time it takes a turn.
Mhm.
Like it's not a guess. Like that's gonna happen. I hope this next hit kills it. That's where I was at, and it did. I love that. Love when that happens. But yeah, I didn't have a black plate, so yeah, it's kind of cool because it has this huge whammo move. But this game has two different ways to mitigate whammo moves. You can turn the entire field white, and you can use diminish, which ironically is black. But if you keep your diminish up and you keep your field white, it's gonna significantly reduce the damage. So you just gotta be like, you gotta really finesse it. Anyway, I very much enjoyed the fight, but considering there were a billion cutscenes before it, I'm glad I didn't have to do it more than once. Which I'm sure the designers probably knew. Maybe that's why the unimportant battles are always the hard ones, because the designers are like, we're going to put a really hard boss after 0 cutscenes, but we're not going to put a really hard boss after lots of cutscenes, even though those are the dramatically relevant bosses. Maybe. Who knows? That would be a reason. A weird reason, but it would be a reason.
Absolutely. So after the fight, Fate disappears and Kid wakes up. She doesn't know where she is, but she sees the frozen flame, and that's her whole shit. So she jumps up to go and get it. And then Harley comes out of nowhere and begs Kid not to touch the flame. She says that half of Kid is dying to destroy everything, but she can't give in to that hate and kill everyone along with her. Kid says, "Shut up, you loony. I know what I'm doing," and grabs the flame. This knocks Harley out, and then we see all of the dragons start to celebrate that Fate has fallen and go like feral to just start whooping it up. And the Sky Dragon says, "Feel 1,000,000 years of this planet's agony, pain, and suffering, and we will make you bleed." So probably, we just done goofed. Sounds like we're in for a world of hurt now. So Sky Dragon Isle shoots up out of the ground, sprouts wings, and invites us, the JRPG protagonist, into it, an obvious JRPG dungeon.
You missed one thing. The dragons, you're going to talk about the dragons.
I'm not there yet.
One dragon. Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. I got the order of events wrong. Sorry.
Yes. So back at the Frozen Flame, Kids suddenly start sprouting exposition that she definitely should not know. But in the year 2400, that's why she shouldn't know it. Neither of her were alive at that time. Spoilers, not really spoilers. You might have figured it out this week, so it might be a spoiler, but it's not a spoiler for very much longer. So in the year 2400, during a routine experiment, the Frozen Flame goes out of control and hurls El Nido back 10,000 years. Perhaps it was Lavos, in its death knell and zeal, calling the flame back to itself to protect itself. But at the same time, a futuristic city of the Reptites, Dinopolis, was also brought back in the form of Sky Dragon Isle, aka Terra Tower, perhaps by the planet itself to counteract Chronopolis and humanity. And it turns out that it wasn't the dragons that sealed the Sea of Eden, but it was Fate, who used the flame to keep the dragons separated and sleeping. But 10 years ago, we weakened Fate, and just now we killed it, so the dragons are back for revenge. The dragons all swirl up into the sky, and they mate like Jake Sully and Neytiri from Avatar, and they form the Divine Dragon.
This scene is like really kinky. It's really hot.
Yeah, like the Sky Dragon is like flying, and then he lets out his hair sex tentacle, and instead of the green dragon like also putting in its hair sex tentacle, it just bites the shit out of it, and then all of them bite together, and it's just this big like kinky ball, and they turn into the Divine Dragon. Unfortunately for us, we left our Dragon Buster and our Dragon Block staff in a different video game, so we're fucked.
Good one.
Harley gets up and says, "I'm sorry, I didn't want to have to fight you. I was trying to avoid this," which doesn't make sense yet, and it's super slight what even's going on, but I'll explain it for the class because Harley deserves better than what she gets. So, Harley is the Divine Dragon. She was in human form to try and guide humanity, but being in human form, she came to love humanity and was hoping to get Fate back in charge, so maybe there could be peace. And now that Fate is gone, she's contractually obligated to get back with her brothers, make a big sky dragon, and destroy humanity. And she's really sad that she has to do that. These are her last words in the game, unfortunately. So she doesn't get to expound on that when that becomes relevant later. So I wanted to put it all out there on Front Street now, even though we learn part of it later.
Yeah, she's to clarify more. She's literally turns out there's literally 7 elements in the game and not just 6. And she therefore there's 7 dragons. So she is the 7th element. I'm realizing now that since the 7th element is the Chrono Cross, and Sam, who has played a little bit ahead and knows how that becomes relevant to the ending of the game, that's interesting about Harl thematically, because that means that she's trying to bring people together, right, and save people. So that's interesting. Anyway,
it goes beyond that, and I'll tell you off mic, and then we have to remember to talk about it next week. But basically, somewhere. Yeah, basically, Harley is the best, and she deserves better. She deserves to go out better than the game gives her. Anywho. We fade to black, and then we fade back in, and we're all getting fucking toasted in the bar because we have no idea what to do. There are no airplanes in 1020 AD, so what the fuck are we going to do to go up to the sky? And thus the dumbest plot point in the entire fucking game begins, but we're not going to talk about that yet. We're going to do the best scene in the game that's completely optional. So Kid can't wake up. And in the bar, they reckon that only a powerful item could bring her from where she's stuck in the past. Sure, I guess. Don't know how Riddle of all fucking people knows this, but whatever, it's convenient. She says that we need to get a powerful artifact to bring her from the past. So you have to get either the Dragon Tier or the Mass Immune. Unfortunately for us, both of those are in tiny pieces, unless you're like me and Maddie and you did the Mass Immune quest last week.
Wait, you can use the Mass Immune instead?
Yeah,
that's why I thought I needed to get Master Moon.
I am so sorry. And I actually didn't get it last time. I lied and said I got it. What happened was I got all the way up to the boss fight and then couldn't beat it and reset my game. So I didn't actually get it.
Okay. So it's really cool. I'll tell you about the Master Moon version, and y'all can tell me about the not version. So both of those are in pieces, so we have to put it together. So we also need the Dragon Tier for the good ending, so we might as well go do that. So,
are you saying Dragon Tier when you mean to say Chrono Cross?
I am not saying Chrono Cross yet because we don't know we're going to make the Chrono Cross yet, Maddie.
Sorry.
All we know is we have 2 halves of the Dragon Tier, and Stina told us that we could put the Dragon Tier back together.
Okay.
Trying to keep this narratively flowing.
Sorry.
So, remember now this next paragraph is going to sound stupid, but remember how Sheena took us to Divine Dragon Falls for no good reason a few weeks ago? Well, when we tried to go in there, and she's like, I wonder if there's a hidden 7th element because you only got the blessing of 6 dragons. This is the part I want to talk about. But so now if we go, there's not a random plot blocking us. We can just go walk up, put our thingies on the pedestal, and make the Dragon Tier, but it's now the Chrono Cross. Madeline.
Sorry. I thought maybe you were calling it the wrong thing. I didn't want people to get confused. Because, sometimes you and me, I do this too, say the wrong words.
Yes, I know. But I had a bit, and you ruined the bit, and there's nothing worse than ruining people's bits.
That's true. I ruined your bit.
The bits.
I'm now imagining an in-person groove where he's like, you threw off my groove, but instead he's like, you ruined my bit.
You ruined my bit.
I'm sorry, sir, but you've ruined the Emperor's bit.
The Emperor's new bit.
That's me.
He's just a stand-up comedian.
So we take the Chrono Cross to Hermit's Hideaway, and we jump into Kid's time stream to bring her out. I'm not sure how that works because the Mass Immune quest takes priority, and what happens is Massa and Mune and Doreen show up again as disembodied voices again, and they're like, "Holy crap! Is that who I think it is? It's the princess. We have to help her, oh, look, there's also the chrono trigger, but it's not complete. The time egg isn't complete, but maybe we can use that as a focus, and we can use our power to activate the chrono trigger and send 3 people and only 3 people, one for each of us, back in time so they can go and save the princess. What does it say for the Chrono Cross?
That's fucking dope. Eli,
Yeah.
do you remember? Because I'm pretty sure you just use it and it does it.
I didn't do this quest.
You didn't go save Kid?
Nope.
Oh.
Fuck.
You said it was. You said it was optional, and
it
No,
is
we said it
optional.
was technically optional from a game standpoint, but wasn't optional for our stream. Okay, whatever, it's fine. It's
Well,
just a very
I didn't have
important
time.
scene.
No, it's fine.
I didn't have time.
I
work
think
for
you
a
can still
living.
do it. Spoilers. They're
Yeah, you can
this
do it.
being
You
a
can, do it,
JRPG.
you can do it later. That's fine. There's no PNR.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is very
But-
weird. But yes, you actually can do it after the final dungeon.
Yes. So we go back in time to Luca's orphanage on the night of the fire, and there are demons everywhere setting things on fire and dealing 0 damage to the party because they are from Mount Pyre when we were at star level 11. So they do not hurt us whatsoever. But they are terrorizing children. If you save all of the kids, it will get you some items, and the kids will tell you how to get to Luca and Kid. They are in the back room surrounded by fire, so you get Luca's ice shot and use that to put out the fire and go get them. When we get there, we see Link's turn around like he has in all of the FMVs. We now see what that is, but this time Harley is there with him. Surge runs at them to try and save everybody, but they disappear. So Surge grabs Kid and runs out of the orphanage. Kid cries that Luca and all of her friends are dead and asks if we'll ever leave her. We are not heartless. Eli, you haven't done this yet. You are not heartless. So you say you will not leave her.
I can't imagine being like, yeah, bye, Kid, whose family and life just burned to the ground.
I've already told her fuck off so many times. I'll do it again.
So,
But she
thinks
doesn't know
us.
that because this is the past.
Yes. So if you tell her fuck off next week, it will then come full circle, and now she'll understand why you left her to die with the fucking poison, because she's like, well, I mean, he always has.
Just one more reason why this is literally just Homestuck.
Yes. But she thanks us and asks if we'll ever see each other again, but at that moment we're thrust back into the future. Kid cries that she doesn't want to be alone, and she like calls out for anyone, and no one's there, so she sits down on the hillside and watches her life burn in front of her. It's fucking sad. So back in the future, Kid wakes up and rejoins our party, and she says that she wasn't worried because anytime she's ever been in trouble, she's just passed out and woke up somewhere without a scratch where she can't remember what happened.
That's not weird at all.
That's not weird at all.
There's no red flags.
It also, understanding what that is after, because spoilers, I beat the game today. I couldn't stop playing, and I just beat the whole game. So I know why, and it doesn't really track with everything that's happened so far, but whatever.
I also played ahead, though in my defense, I had a good reason for it, which was that I had to keep my streaming schedule. Sam was just being a jerk. I'm just kidding, Sam. You're not a jerk. It's fine.
Yes. Yeah, I was expecting a safe point, and I came across the final boss. I was like, Maddie, should I stop? And she was like, yeah, run away, go back to the safe point. I'm like, cool, beat the boss, and then beat the real final boss, and then started a new game plus. But
Yeah, you literally played more of the game than I have now.
yeah. So Radia says that Lucia is waiting for Kid in Viper Manor, that she has something for her. So we go to Viper Manor, rack your brain trying to remember where the fuck Lucia's lab was, find her, and Lucia gives Kid a letter from Luca. And this is why them naming the scientist Lucia instead of Luca, they could have picked any other name because she's not related, but they just happen to be in the same scene together right here. So in Luca's letter, she is distraught. She is fearful for her own safety and the safety of her kids, because by saving the future, she killed off an entire other future. So like everyone that would have been born from 1000 AD to 2300 AD now is dead because they never got to exist. And so she's like, there's bound to be Trunks is going to come back and kill me, and I'm Cell. Basically, someone from the bad future is going to be mad and is going to come back and kill me, and there's nothing I can do. And she's kind of really scared. So here she implies that Kid is a character from Chrono Trigger, which combined with the Massa Immune quest that we just saw, being the princess, and Luca then says, I hope that I'm here with you, but if not, maybe Janice will be there, and he finally found you. Janice, if you're reading this, hi. So Eli, do you have any idea who Kid is as a character from Chrono Trigger? Or should I just say it?
Is it the Janice's sister person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Princess Shala.
Shala, that's it. Yes.
Who was MIA at the end of Chrono Trigger. We didn't see her. When we had the big shit at Zeo where they summoned Lavos, and then the different, if you recall, the 3 sages were there, and they all got flung into different parts of time, and we got flung in different part of time, and Magus got flung into the Middle Ages. Scala was never seen again. This egg just was not mentioned after that point in the game. So we're going to find out what happened with Scala, and spoiler, it's important.
Yep.
It's the main plot of the game.
Yeah. And I'll talk about that a lot next week. But so basically it's just a letter explaining that time is scary. She loves Kid no matter what, even though time might come back to murder her later. Kid asks to be alone for a moment, and it's really sweet. So now that emotional resolution to an important character's arc being done in an optional side quest, let's do the incredibly not optional dumb as shit character's bogus journey. So remember back when me and Maddie found a dumb little alien boy like in week goddamn 2? Well, it turns out the only way we can fly up to Terra Tower is by making our boat fly. And how do we do that? Why, with Starkey's spaceship's anti-gravity. That's how. So we have to take Starkey to the bottom of the El Nido Triangle in another world. And here, instead of Starkey surviving and his ship being destroyed, his ship survived and Starkey was destroyed. Dark.
Yeah, so he's taking his other dimension versions of himself. He's like, hey, thanks for the ship, other me.
Yeah. So we steal from dead Starkey and gut his spaceship and tie the engine to the back of our boat, which now makes it fly in a cool but dumbass FMV where we fly up to Terra Tower.
I will say there was one this is a cool scene because they're like, well, where on earth could we hook up a time discombobulator onto a boat? And they're like, maybe we should go to some kind of advanced lab. And I'm like, are they going to make me backtrack all the way to Chronopolis again? And then the game just warps you there. And I'm like, look at that. Thanks, game.
Look at that. Thanks. So for those keeping score, the little weird alien throwaway character is plot critical, and fucking Scala, around whomst the plot revolves, is not. Weird ass game. So
yeah, I didn't even have Starkey because I did not think that this character mattered. Turns out it does.
Well, I will say Scala's only important to the plot if you get the true ending, and if you get the true ending, then you've seen this scene.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is, if you didn't see this scene where she ends up being important, you're also not going to see the later one where she ends up being important. So at least that tracks. It's like, instead of them mentioning Scala later and you being like, wait, what? There's just basically not Scala in the game, essentially.
Yeah. And for this game's credit, I was talking with Eli about how bullshit this was. And if I were playing this game back in the day and I came to this point and I had no idea how to progress, and I did not have Starkey, the NPCs that say there's some weird shit happening in El Nido Triangle and don't bring a star piece up to the Sky Dragon Isle, they're still in the game. They're still given hints. It still would be like you would see things change on the overworld. You would see like it's not bad. It's just the fact that it's goddamn Starkey in his fucking bubble suit that's crucial to the game. That just it drives me up the wall.
Weirdly enough, Starkey also has a critical scene with Harl.
Yeah,
which is weird.
If you don't have Starkey, you don't get to see her. Yeah, Starkey apparently is the most important character in this game.
This game has 4 important characters: Surge,
and one of them is
Surge, Kid, Harl, and Starkey.
So we float our boat up to Terra Tower, and we start this dungeon, which is real cool. There are big glowing orbs of gunk everywhere, and inside of each of them is a robot boss. In fact, there are 6 of them. There is a yellow one, a red one, a green one, a blue one, a black one, and a white one.
What a
in that exact order
for them to happen in.
For some reason, who knows why I'm spending all of this time belaboring this point. It's not to solve a weird esoteric puzzle for the good ending. Nope. No siree. It's not weird.
Also,
it's not like all of the times that someone has ever listed all 6 elements, they do it in this order or anything either. It's not a really random and easy to overlook thing.
Also, every single time you use the Chrono Cross, by the way, the Chrono Cross is an amazing element. I recommend anyone equip it as soon as possible. It can be equipped on any level, such as level 1, and when you use it, it annoyingly is RNG. But in addition to its plot importance later in the game, it also has an RNG chance of refilling all your element grids, which is awesome. So it's like, hey, you're losing this battle of attrition and need some more heals. Now your elements are back. Now you can cast those summons again, Bubby, which is really great. But also, as soon as you equip the element, as soon as you equip the Chrono Cross, the game starts doing something new. Every time you cast a spell or the enemy, every time anyone uses an element, the element appears in the top of the screen, not in the element field. That's different. It appears in the top of the screen, and a musical chime
makes a note.
Goes off. And there's no reason for this to happen. This doesn't matter yet. But eventually you start to realize, oh, that's the tune that red makes. Oh, that's the tune that green makes. Oh, that's the tune that yellow makes. Interesting. So anyway, they're setting up a lot of stuff here. It's a final boss of very esoteric. I hope you've been paying attention.
So I mentioned it again way back in like episode 3 or 4 that there was the super boss of the game is this Sphinx. The Sphinx has a super boss version, but also has a fake boss version. In the fake boss, he asks you questions and you have to answer them with the correct element. And the only thing that boss does, if you do it the fake boss way and not just the super boss way, is it just tells you yellow, red, green, blue, black, white.
Yep.
That's all it says. So it's everywhere in this game for you to figure out that that's an important order, but it's kind of dumb, and it's not something like I would like. It's the number one thing that I would get there. I would see that I got the bad ending. I would go on GameFAQs and try ask somebody else. I don't think I would puzzle that out ever. Anywho. So I'm going to skip over what the giant human face says because it's just a clarification of the missable lore at Chronopolis that I didn't miss. I already talked about. But there's a giant-ass human face that's been locked up for thousands of years in the future, for hundreds of years in the past by the reptites that are from the future but are millions of years old. It's easy. Then we also go to the library from Viper Manor, complete with Balthazar inside. Balthazar clarifies that he was indeed thrown to 2300 AD from Zeal, and it was from the different one from our saved future. He says that he used magic to help the people of the future learn how to control time, and he caused the time crash, which he says is his finest hour, and don't know what that means. Beat the game, don't know what that means. So he reiterates the thing about Dinopolis and Chronopolis being Lavos and the planet using the future as a weapon, and that we were used by the dragon gods to eliminate fate. He also says that the dragon gods used to be a singular entity which was a machine that controlled nature in the future society of the Reptites. So it's literally anti-Fate. It's the Reptites.
Yeah, it was the reptile
Fate.
version of Fate. Yeah.
Yeah. And that machine would divide itself into 7 aspects of nature to be able to better control it. But Fate used that as an opportunity to seal them up and separate them so they couldn't ever come back together. So we fucked up. He also casually mentions the fact that there is a second moon in Chrono Cross because we've seen the sky a lot and there's now 2 moons and there were not 2 moons in Chrono Trigger. And but he doesn't say it like, oh, so he doesn't phrase it like, oh, when I was back when I came from, there's only 1 moon, but now here there's 2 and here's why. He's just like, yeah, there's just a hidden 7th element. You know how there's a second moon that was found? I'm like, wait, what? That's fucking weird.
Since when?
Yeah, so here's where we specifically learned that the 7th dragon was Harley, as I mentioned earlier, where it wasn't clear because this is the last mention of Harley, and she's such a great character. She's so characterful. She does not deserve to go out off screen, but she do. So the Chrono Gang is also there, and they say that the melody and harmony of the world can be harnessed with the Chrono Cross to transfer memories and create a healing harmony. If only we knew the song, yellow, red, green, blue, black, white. Just throwing it out there. Don't know where we'll ever figure out the song. But Balthazar vanishes, and he leaves us to the rest of the tower. But in the next room is a save point. Well, technically, the next room is the green boss, but the next important room is the save point. So we use it to save and stop for the week.
Oh, I missed my opportunity to make a Twin Peaks joke.
What is it?
It's a real mystery.
That's a deep cut. I don't recognize that.
From in the bar with Sarah Palmer.
Oh,
in The Return.
Yeah, oh my god, that's a fucking scene. That is a real fucked up scene. I made a reference to that exact same scene while streaming The Bouncer last night. There's a part of The Bouncer where a character's face comes halfway off. So same reference. That's a hell of a scene. Speaking of characters that have one dramatic scene and then are never seen again for the rest of the art, Sam, I do think we should just go ahead and say the one little thing that happens next, which is what happens next is we fight 2 more bosses, black and white. No, actually, blue, black, and white. We haven't done any of those, I don't think.
We do blue up an elevator, and then we do black and white.
Yeah, blue, black, and white. And then we run through a big room that has nothing in it except for 6 different crystals that are each of the elemental colors. And in this room, we hear the melody that is the exact same melody. Interestingly enough, this is the first time we've heard it. We've seen it before, and we've had it intuited to us before, but this is the first time we've heard it musically. And if we've been using the Chrono Cross, we're like, wow, those chimes sound exactly like the chimes that happen every time I use the element. But anyway, this is the last time the game very explicitly tells it to you. So thought I'd throw that out there, and that was technically before our original stopping point.
Yes. So let's now listen to the Fate battle music and talk about the tons of cool Chrono Trigger references that were squeezed in this week.
Yeah.
So, a Radical Dreamers reference we'll start off with. There is a computer in Chronopolis that posits that the plot of Radical Dreamers is yet another alternate timeline at play here, and it kind of is implied that it's the timeline that they kind of were chasing, sorta. Where it's because it's it was in this thing, and it had scientific notes written about it. It's like if you picked up a journal from another time and you were trying to figure out let's go and let's get there. which is kind of really cool. But it is also the first of 2 references to Magus this week. So then the song that plays when you get to the Frozen Flame is lifted from the Radical Dreamer soundtrack wholesale. They didn't change it. It's just better sampled instruments because it's a PlayStation. And it's played at the same portion of that game, which is kind of cool. So if you would happen to play Radical Dreamers, when you get to the Frozen Flame, it's like a callback. Like that's what's going on here. In the orphanage with Luca, Gatto is like their butler. So instead of just singing at the fair, she repurposed him to like hang out and everything. And he's busted up and in pieces on the floor. But hey, Gatto's there. But the machine that paralyzed Laura is also in the living room where children play. Luca, what the fuck are you doing?
Maybe she made it safer.
But you can do a different password to it. Road, which would be right, circle, triangle, square. You do that, and that's how you get Kid 7th Tech. There's also a whole bunch of small quests for the 7th Techs that I'm not going to go into because it's no important characters.
It's basically loyalty missions from Mass Effect 2. A lot of the
that are all like 3 sentences long.
Yeah,
it's 3 sentence loyalty missions.
I didn't get like any of them either. Although I am curious as to what happened with Sweet Sweet Hambo, but whatever.
Yeah. His is actually kind of long and kind of cool. You should look that up. But I didn't do it. I just saw it in the Let's Play. So the wall leading to where Luca and Kid are in the orphanage has crayon drawings of all of the Chrono Trigger gang. So apparently they all hung out there before the poor military killed them, or Lynx murdered them, or both. Who knows? They're all dead now. But you can see drawings of all of them, and if you inspect them, you can see blown up versions of Robo, Isla, Marl, Luca, Chrono. But frogs and maguses are under other ones, like vertically. So if you try to look at those, you just see the one that's on top. So you only can see them in teeny tiny, but they are there, which is cool. So the giant human face was supposed to be a playable character. He was going to be a survivor of the war between the Reptites and the humans at Terra Tower 10,000 years ago. And he was going to be trapped in Chronopolis somehow, and you'd save him as a final unlockable side quest in between the 2 final bosses, which is weird that this game would do that and have the, because like, spoilers for next week, you beat what you think is the final boss, and they're like, oh no, that's not him. He's right over there. Go get him right there. There's almost no traveling you have to do. Walk over this way. There would be the opportunity to leave and go get a different character, which is
and it is
crazy.
Also the opportunity to do as much side questing as you want, like technically speaking. But also, like, at that point, you're probably like, I want to beat the game.
Yeah, because it feels like Terra Tower is a point of no return, even though it's not. So why would you not have done all the side quests you want before going to Terra Tower? It's weird. This game is cool but weird like that. But yeah, that's about it. There's a whole lot of small stuff in Luca's thing. Like I mentioned, the ice shot, that's one of her guns later. In the late game guns in Chrono Trigger is her ice shot, and that's the thing you used to put out the fires. There's a lot of little stuff like that, but the big ones is just everybody's faces all drawn by kids, and it's cute. So let's listen to The Girl Who Stole the Stars from this week. It is kids theme that plays at the orphanage, and it's dope.
Oh, it's a really good track.
We will talk about our memorable moments. All right. Somebody else go. I'm tired of talking.
So pulling my
Most memorable moment for me was how frustrating this week was. And I so Sam and I got to talking about it, and partially about how esoteric a lot of it feels, and he was saying, I don't understand how you could get through Undertale when a lot of that stuff is really esoteric, and I'm like, well, but Undertale is lovable. It has and I mean that's basically what my response boiled down to was Undertale has characters that I really super care about. It's a shorter game in general. If you suck at it, True Pacifist will take you 10 to 12 hours max. It has fewer characters, so you get to know those fewer characters better. Because I've got fucking 20 characters to pick from, and I've been using the same 3. Because I just I haven't really needed to switch them out, and the times when I've tried switching them out, it hasn't worked for me. It's just made the game more frustrating. Or I've only needed to switch them out temporarily for plot reasons.
I think a Eli positive version of this game wouldn't change that much, but it would have 12 characters instead of 46.
Yeah, it would definitely have way fewer characters, and it would have started out with the Chrono Trigger references.
Yeah,
because
I definitely will be going hella into next week if you want to hold that a little.
Yeah, we'll hold that one for next week.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, one of the characters, when Bernard played this game just a few years ago, he had a similar takeaway. He was like, this game has basically 2 really weird avant-garde concepts, and it does both of them in the same game. And that's weird. And one of the 2 concepts is, what if there were 40 different characters? And he's like, that's a great idea, but I feel like it was a good idea for a different game. And that when you put that in this game, in addition to everything else that's going on in the game, it's just weird, right?
Yeah, they do that in Suikoden, but that's the plot of Suikoden, is getting the 106 golden heroes back together. So that's what you do in Suikoden, is you, from the jump, are trying to get 106 party members. Here, that's just a thing that happens.
It's just a thing that also happens. It's you feel like they almost could have added it late in development. They already had the story with all these minor characters, and then someone was like, what if all these guys just joined your party? Which, funny enough, that's not actually true. This was one of the core design ideas at the start of the game's development. But it feels that way, right? Yeah. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I go back and forth, but it definitely is it's a weird choice. It's a weird choice for a game to have.
It's also interesting to point out that in Suikoden you use 6 of your 106 party members at once, and here you use 3 of your 46. So you have a lot of characters that I've literally never used most of them. Even ones that I was like, oh my god, I love them, I'm going to use them for forever. I'm like, oh, you're yellow? I don't use yellow spells. I don't fucking need you. It's a dick bench. Sorry to Norris and Janice. I did a lot of things to unlock you, and I didn't ever use you. I'm sorry. But anything else, Eli?
I didn't talk about the green boss guy, but he cast 4 fucking spells in a row all on Fargo, and then in the next turn, before I could heal Fargo enough, he cast another big-ass spell on Fargo, and it made me really mad.
Man, dude just doesn't like Fargo.
Yeah, apparently not. And he ended up killing Surge as well. The only reason that Zoa didn't die is because Zoa had a green plate on, because I've put the opposite colored plates on all of my characters, because then they're not weak to it. And so Surge and Fargo both died, and I just punched it a couple of times with Zoa, and it died. So I was like, all right, whatever, I'm moving on.
Eli, fun pro tip for next week, because you'll probably go for the bad ending, even though we hit the good ending over the head this week. But
You can watch the good ending on YouTube.
Yeah, just put a green plate on Surge and make sure you don't get status effects, and you'll win. It's fine.
The final boss has spells of every color, but really likes green.
It's mostly green.
I think I have items that will prevent me from getting any status effects, so I'll just
slap that and a green plate on them, and you're good.
Yep.
Cool. Oh, there was one other thing. When I was in the Viper Manor place and talking with Balthazar, the little Chrono kids said you don't have the Chrono Cross. So clearly I've done a bad by not having the Chrono Cross.
Oh yeah, because part of what happens in that scene is they talk about it. That's right.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, you don't have it. Fuck off." Like, okay, cool. Bye.
Yeah, that's like a 2-part cutscene. The first half is Balthazar talking, and then the second half is they go, "Oh, you've got the Chrono Cross? Huh?" And then there's like a second half of the cutscene. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
They just fucking disappeared afterwards.
But I have a couple. So one of the time NPCs in Chronopolis is like, well, after today's experiment, I'll finally get that 3-week vacation, and I'm going to go back to the mainland, which is the most one last job energy I've ever fucking heard.
That.
You can't ever say anything.
I kept yelling that at the screen. I was like, when are people going to learn to never refer to a thing that you hope is going to happen in the future? Yeah, that's all I got. That's it. Just don't do that.
Don't do that.
You're just begging for trouble.
So don't worry, Balthazar. Don't worry, Scala. Don't worry, Surge. Don't even worry, Lynx. It's not your fault. It is this guy's fault. He fucking jinxed it by planning a 3-week vacation the day after the time experiment.
Have your vacation before the big time. Just
come on. And then the most important memorable moment in the history of memorable moments, this is why we started this section. In one of the labs, they are talking about the physiological differences between humans and reptiles, and they have photos of a human and a reptile. The human is a dejected Japanese teen from the 90s. Like, if you're imagining that in your head, that's exactly what he is standing on in the screen. And the other one is a realistic lizard on its hind legs wearing a red leather dress for some fucking reason. And it has huge mom just wants to look pretty energy. It is so good.
I just realized, in addition to this game having the same plot as the film Dark City, I won't say more about why it's the same plot because that would be a spoiler. It also has the same plot as the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yes.
Right? A whole different, a different dimension of...
You're so right.
Yeah, it's a different dimension of dinosaurs who are coming to this dimension to take over. Like, that's literally what the plot of this game is. Kind of. Part of it.
Yeah.
So, anyway, those are both options for what movie we could watch.
Yes.
Oh, man. Yeah, I will watch the Super Mario Brothers movie.
I love that movie.
We should... I do
Maybe
too.
we should.
I am... completely unironically, unabashedly fucking love it. Like,
no, I don't think it's good ironically. I think it's really good, and people who don't think it's good are wrong and don't understand why it's good.
I literally didn't know that it was thought of as a bad movie until like college. I just liked it.
I never seen it until college, but yeah. Actually, I think that's
I watched it a lot growing up.
Maybe I don't know.
But I watched it growing up, and I fucking love it.
My last one is that the iShots flavor text says that Luca leaves it with the babysitters so that they can put out any fires that happen during the day, which is hilarious. Luca should not be running an orphanage. She is a freaky science lady that has a death trap in the living room and leaves a ice laser gun to put out any fires that could probably happen
really funny.
Every day with these kids.
My memorable moments were, I had a couple. I really like how Luca's house's layout is at first the exact same as in Chrono Trigger. Mm-hmm. And I think that's cool because Chrono Trigger also had a scene that I consider the most important scene in the entire game where you are magically transported to Luca's house during a crisis moment. And this game does the exact same thing, But it's cool because now
in the same exact location,
and you're seeing it with PlayStation graphics instead of with Super Nintendo graphics, and that's really cool. But what's neat is that like Luca clearly, like when she decided to make an orphanage, like gave it like an annex, because like the entire original house is there, and then there's like an extra door that leads off to the right, and that's where like the other part is. So that's like that makes sense. She expanded her house, right? Because she wanted to have the kids there, which is neat. Another thing I want to share, I'm sending it in Discord. You already saw this, but I'm sending it again to highlight it. Some incredible pre-rendered backgrounds in this game. In this week, this whole week's had lots of them, but this week has been really special in having lots of them. They're still sending, so I'll move on to another thing. Sam already covered this plot line, but he didn't quote it verbatim, and I want to quote it verbatim because I find this line very poignant. And also, if you interpret it metaphorically and not non-literally, it is very relatable. When what's her name? When Kid wakes up, she says, "Whenever I'm in a dangerous situation where I might get hurt, I just seem to disappear and vanish." That's how she words that. Like, that's exactly what you would say if you just dissociated instead of, or like you stop responding to your friends' text because you're like, that's what you would say, right? You just disappear because you're worried about getting hurt. I found that a very poignant line. Of course, she literally means I literally disappear because of a magical pendant that I have. I know that's a spoiler for next week. I don't care. We already know she has a magical pendant because she gave it to us 4 weeks ago. Also, in Luca's letter...
Oh my god, she gave it to us right before she got fucking poisoned, and it didn't protect her anymore.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, anywho, Luca's letter to us, I found the whole thing rather poignant, but at the end, she says what I think is just a very... this game's very depressing, but it has a few moments of really bright hope, and I really like this line. She says, "There's so much more I want to tell you, but I must leave it for another time. Don't worry, ! Everything is okay. We will overcome whatever woes may occur, that's for certain." And I like how she says that without having any reason. Like, nothing in the game's plot or in the events that she's witnessed have given her any reason for hope. But she still knows it's going to turn out all right in the end. I like it. Finally, I like how when we meet with Balthazar in the weird Viper Manor room, he just goes, "This is a space that does not exist, but don't mind that." He's just like, yeah, this is a place that doesn't exist. But anyway, on to the important parts. That's it. And then if y'all look, I wish I could, of course I can't show these visually on a podcast, but also shortly before the scene where Lucas says everything's going to turn out all right in the end, we have the line of kid, cloaked in silhouette with her house burning in the background. Beautiful shot. And she says, "Everybody I've ever loved has gone far away," which is a very sad line. And then we have the shot of Terra Tower. We have the shot of the Shrampies at the bottom of Terra Tower. And we have a shot of just a bunch of... It's just a bunch of downward staircases. It's just the fucking part of Final Fantasy VII. But it's just beautiful composition, beautiful shades of light blue and dark blue hues, good architecture, good use of geometry. It's just... Anyway, this week was just one banger after another in terms of me screenshotting things. So,
speaking of the Shrampies, I accidentally skipped this part in the density section, but Dinopolis is the name of the dungeon that we go to twice in Chrono Trigger, that where Azala's Palace is.
Is it really called that?
Yes.
That must be in the DS version.
It might be, but that city survives into the future, and instead of being a cyberpunk dystopia like our future, it is instead a shrimp punk dystopia because Terra Tower doesn't really look anything like the Dinopolis that we know and love, but there's a lot of shrimp everywhere for some fucking reason.
Yep.
And
I like the term shrimp punk.
Shrimp punk.
It's very, I mean, they're obviously like, I don't know, maybe they're like, actually it would make sense if they were coral reefs, but they're like some kind of coral. It's just this weird organic. Everything just looks very organic and living. But yeah, part of it just looks like shrimp.
Yeah.
It's very tasty.
Yeah, delicious shrimp. But yeah, that will do it for the this week. Next week we're going to beat the game. So real quick, over under on who wins for this vote. Let's see right now because we have to decide right now.
Right. I didn't understand anything vote. You just said over under on who wins, and I'm like, are we gonna fight?
Yes.
Do we have to fight? Do we have that scheduled? Are we taking bets? Or are we gonna? Are me and Eli gonna be throwing down on pay-per-view? God, that would be a sad. That would be a sad display. I don't even know which of us would win if we fought. It'd be really bad.
Yeah, it would be just brutal to watch. Like it wouldn't be entertaining or interesting.
No, it would just be like really depressing.
We'd probably just evolve into making like Twin Peaks references the whole time.
Yeah, but like if we like had to, right? If someone was forcing us to like fight each other, like, God, it would be really depressing. Me and Sam fighting would be great.
I just lie down and let you win.
I hope that Sam understands what I'm about to say, and I think that you do, which is that I would have no issue fighting, like doing violence to Sam, assuming it was consensual and he was also doing violence to me. Like I could never punch Eli, but if someone was like, you and Sam are going to punch each other, I'd be like, yeah, okay. You would win.
Yeah, I can see it happen.
Sam would win. I'm just saying I wouldn't not be able to do it.
Yeah.
I'd get
all
my
right.
ass
So
kicked.
I just asked the Discord where most of our people are residing because it's real close, and there are only 5 votes and like 12 eligible voters right now. So I asked one more time. I will refresh this.
We got to do phone banking.
I did. Yeah. Don't know if anybody's doing it because the only person that has reacted is Bernard, and Bernard has already voted. So it might be that we are playing. Let me give them. It's a real long. My fucking poll page is real long, so giving them a second. But it's looking like we are going to play Lunar, the Silver Star.
Yes.
Because I had just told people there's a chance that this will change, and I will dub it back in later. But it seems we'll be playing Lunar, the Silver Star for the Sega CD / Sega Saturn / PlayStation 1 / PlayStation Portable / Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, I will say I'm a believer in democracy, and democracy requires full, high participation. So I think that if by the end of today or even tomorrow, if everyone decides to actually fucking vote and you want to change it, I have no problem with that.
Yeah. So because it's so close, it was 3-2.
Right.
And they're out of 12 eligible voters. That's real close. So, yeah, if all goes according to plan and people vote along these same lines, then we will play Lunar the Silver Star. And no idea what version we'll all be playing. We might end up playing different versions and seeing how that goes, because we've talked about doing that before, and this would be an opportunity to do that since there are so many versions. And yeah. So, yep, another refresh and there was nothing. So, yeah, next week we will beat the game.
Mm-hmm.
The week after that, we will watch a movie. Have not decided if it will be Super Mario Brothers or Dark City or Face Off.
Oh, yeah, Face Off. That was the other option. All great movies.
Yeah, it'll be one of those 3, and or it'll be Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Which doesn't tie in at all, just that we want to. Well, no, it ties in because it's a sequel to a time travel thing that doesn't have time travel in it and is a lot different.
Yeah. So we'll do that. We'll do one of them. And then we will also have a friend with us for this next time. So if you do not follow the Game Professor on YouTube, you should. His channel is called Games is Lit 101, and he breaks down literary themes and stuff, but not just as like a way that, because or like this game was about friendship. He will like track the theme of friendship in every scene across the whole game. It's really good. I found him because of his Legend of Dragoon one. So if you've listened along, you can watch his Legend of Dragoon one. His shining magnum opus is his Worlds End With You series, but Legend of Dragoon is a good entry point. He's great. He's awesome. And we're going to do a collaboration with him for this PlayStation 1 block because he's cool like that.
It's going to be super great, and I'm going to disappoint you so much in front of him. And
it is fine. I'm gonna look at my cool friends, and then y'all are going to go, Dairy Queen, Dairy Queen. Just ruin the whole thing. But yeah. So look forward to that.
I'm going to forget how to say the word
like what we do.
Chrono Trigger.
But if you like what you hear, you can hit us up online at www.rpgbook.club, and that has links to all of our stuff. I think I'm going to start doing a game diary there because like Bernard is doing his solo podcast, which is really good, and I kind of want to do that, but I don't want to do a solo podcast. I do podcasts a lot.
Oh no, you know what? I realized, like, as soon as I said there's such a thing as a solo podcast, I was like, no, I've heard solo podcasts before. What the fuck is wrong with me?
Yeah. So, Welcome to Night Vale is a solo podcast.
You're right. I love that.
Yeah. So he has a solo podcast, and that sounded like a thing that I would like to do, except I record a podcast 2 nights a week now, and that's a lot of work, and I don't want to do it. So maybe I'll just do a game diary to pick up where the JRPG canon left off and just talk about the shit that I'm playing as I play them. But there will be content there of some sort soon. But if you just want to support us and keep our lights on and help us buy little bits of video games, you can do that at our Ko-fi. ko-fi, still sounds gross coming out of my mouth.com/RPG Book Club. And you can toss us some ducats there, and those ducats will get you the opportunity to see where we are headed in the future of this podcast, as people did tonight with picking our next video game. Also, shout out to everyone who has donated, because we just unlocked the finale season for our first Longcast series. So we will be finishing .hack.gu here in the next couple of weeks, which is really cool. And our next stretch goal, as it were, is a short series on The Last of Us 1, which is really cool. So go and donate to that. We would love all of you as much as Dairy Queen loves us. For
Dairy Queen definitely
and as
loves
much
us.
as Dairy Queen loves you.
Yes. For Dairy Queen Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I've been Elias Sailor Eli. Wow, I can't even say that. Sailor Eli Warren.
And I'm Manager's Bum.
Have a good night, folks.
Bye, Dork.
Toodaloo.
Yeah, I will continue talking about Kingdom Hearts, and hopefully it makes fucking sense.
Well,
But-
I mean, you're talking about Kingdom Hearts.
True. But